Hi, I'm Chris. We're doing a how-to video on how to install a new exhaust system on your Suzuki Boulevard 2006 C50. The tools you're going to need for this project are going to be, to start off with, we're going to want a rag to wipe down your pipes to remove any fingerprints or debris to prevent any bluing of your pipes before you go long distances. I also used gloves to help reduce the amount of fingerprints that were left to help speed up the cleaning process as well. You will require an Allen wrench if you have the stock bolts on the headers still there for the top of the exhaust. I used some pliers or some vice grips to help me twist them because they were on there a little bit tighter. A flathead screwdriver to help with the clamps for the heat shields on these pipes. I also used a ratchet with the sockets in order to help with some of the bolts to make it a little bit easier to loosen and tighten them in the rear. The first step you're going to do is remove your old exhaust system. So we had the standard exhaust that was currently installed on the bike. I've removed all of them except for this one last piece to show you kind of how to do that. Now this old exhaust system came in 4 different pieces, the same as our new one will. The new one is a Cobra exhaust system. So we have the one last piece that's sitting right here. Another one would have came from the other air in, or from the other exhaust channel, and then they both split off and become 2 different pieces here in the middle. Now those 2 different pieces connect to the bike with these bolts right here, so you do have to make sure that you do disconnect those bolts as you're doing it. So after you have all of these other exhaust parts off, and we're coming back to this last one. Now we had installed a highway bar system on our bike, so in order to get off the last bolt I had to undo my highway bar system, completely take off the bolt and move it in order to get my last exhaust bolt. So now that we're to that step, I have the other exhaust bolt and it is loosened right now, so I'm going to finish taking this bolt out. And this is just done using an Allen wrench. Now we will have to save these bolts because we will be reusing them. So you can take off your old system, clean it up, sell it, do whatever you need with it, but do keep your bolts. These Cobra pipes, when we purchased them, came with some instructions and packing supplies. So it does cover, here at the top left, it has the items supply. Down below it also has the instruction manual, which are the instructions. They're all in English. I see no other language. Also at the very bottom here, it does include different instructions or different precautions that you need to take between the Volusia 800 models and the actual C50 and M50 models as well. So the first step we're going to take here is to check your stock head pipe gaskets and make sure they're good. If you have any doubts as to that, then we need to replace them. So we've already checked ours. The next step after that we're going to take is going to be to actually start installing the exhaust systems. So this one comes in all one piece, but also does have an exhaust heat shield. So the first thing we're going to do is this shorter one is going to go into this near side slot. If you can see here in the back, it does have a bolt system, so we can slide our bolts through here. And that's why it's very important to keep the bolts as you had previously. So we're going to put this into place by installing the other bolts, and then the key thing to this here is when we're doing this installation, we do not tighten anything down all the way until all the components are in place to make sure the proper fitment is there. Now that we've tacked down our pieces in place, we just hand tightened the bolts that are in place. So we have the 2 up here top, and we use that Allen wrench just to get into place, and then hand tighten them, and then also the one back here in the rear. So now that that's in place, we're going to install the other one. Now these are just single piece units. The other 2 pieces that came in this kit are just the heat shields. So I'm going to leave the plastic on just because my hands are a little bit dirtier now and I don't want to have to do too much cleaning later. One important step is after we do have everything on, we want to clean all the pieces. If we leave any fingerprints and try and run it, it can cause some bluing of your pipes before you even get going. We now have both of the exhaust pipes put in place, and all of the bolts are just hand tightened, all the ones up top and the ones back here securing them in place in the rear. So next thing we're going to do is get ready to put on the heat shields, and before we do that we're going to wipe down the pipes to remove any fingerprints or any debris left, because we don't want to have discoloration before we get going. The next thing we're doing here is installing the heat shields. So we've already wiped down our pipes to make sure they were clean, and we have the heat shields out of the packaging. Now the heat shields have these little divots in the back where we're going to run the clamps through. The clamps are already a little bit pre-tightened, so what we're going to have to do in order to get them in there is take a flathead screwdriver. Just take a flathead screwdriver and we're going to loosen them all the way till the clamp can be opened. I'm using gloves for this process just to minimize fingerprints and other dirty elements getting on my pipes to reduce cleaning later. So after we have the clamp open, we're going to flip the heat shield back over. You are going to have to straighten the end out just a little bit, and you're going to push it through the back. So as you can see here, we have the clamp. We'll open it just a little bit and run it through the channel that's here on the back. So you're going to run it all the way through and keep it open on the other side. There are 2 heat shields and 4 clamps, so we're going to do that on all of them and get them ready. After we get them ready, we're going to slide them over the pipes and secure them in place. While I'm trying to apply my heat shields, the first thing I'm going to do is rotate all my clamps to where they're sitting there to where the bolts and the actual tightening screw is sitting up towards the end of the heat shield, exposing the most of the clamp and allowing it to be moved out of the way. So we're going to have to bend back these clamp pieces just a little bit in order to slide them over the exhaust unit. So here I'm going to take the top one, slide it in place, and then the bottom one. After we have it slid in place, we need to re-engage the clamps. For mine, I fed my clamps through so that the tightening screws would always be at the bottom. So all you have to do is feed the track back into the actual loop there and start pushing it through. After it's in place, and you can start tightening your screw, and it should re-engage your track. Then you can just hold it in place and finish tightening it down. One thing that you will have to keep in mind is making sure that the screw is in a position in which you can loosen it later, but also in a position to where your track isn't fully exposed on your front side as you tighten it down. And we're going to do the same thing for the other. Next thing we're going to do after we have the heat shields on and tightened is we're going to clean them off again, just to remove any fingerprints or other debris that was on there. After all the pipes are cleaned and secured into place and the heat shields are on, now we can tighten our bolts up top. After we tighten our bolts, and we can also secure them in the rear, and we're good to go. Okay, so we now have the Cobra pipes installed on the boulevard here. So the full installation is complete, just some of the things that you can see here. So it does have a very nice chrome finish on it, and we did wipe it off. I have taken this bike for a couple rides already, but I wanted to stick this last piece in here and actually let you hear the pipes and just see exactly how they are. So we do have the heat shields on. The heat shields do have the seam right here, but it's pretty clear, so it's not a big bulky seam. You can't really tell that they're 2 different parts. It does fit in very well. And then the top part of the seam is also going to be the top part of the seam is also right up here, so it's almost towards the top, so you can't really see much up there at all either. So it really does look nice and sharp on the bike. So That's the full length. That is a big difference between the stock pipes that were on there. The stock pipes actually extended all the way out past the back of the bike. They probably went out to about here, where my finger is pointing, and they were also much thicker, so you also couldn't see much of that back tire either. So those are some of the differences on the pipes that we have here, and then there is also a huge decibel difference as well. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start the bike at this point just so you can hear it. And so we're going to turn it on. Real quick start. So the pipes are already much louder than they were just at idle. And if we rev it, it's going to be much better. So hopefully you can hear the difference between the pipes there. I don't have a sample video for how they sounded like before, but hopefully you can hear exactly how loud it was. I don't have a sample video before as to how soft or how quiet those stock pipes were, but it is a huge difference now. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let us know. Leave us a message below. Also, just like our page, like the video, and subscribe to get more videos just like this. Thank you. DIY with Chris, giving you the tools to do it yourself. DIY with Chris, giving you the tools to do it yourself.